cordoned by the West until they let him go. So I think a time has come for the West to let go of the evil and disassociate itself with the evil. Then young Africa will have opportunity to meet, like I said in the beginning, that young Africans and young Europeans are first world brains, but African young people are first world brains stuck in third world countries, which wouldn't be third world countries, but have third world leaders. So until we deal with that, the entire partnership is going to be a lie. But when we deal with that, you will see every other question being answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby Wine. You made very strong points, and you actually even pointed out the situation in Mali and Burkina Faso. Interestingly, if we now take an average of the leadership age in West Africa, I presume that it would come down a bit. You know, obviously, if you're not giving young people a peaceful way to transition, what you will see is these kinds of transitions. And so these are the kinds of things we want to avoid by creating peaceful opportunities for young people to influence where their country is going. Now, despite young Africans making a disproportionate majority of the population in Africa, some of the aspirations has been expressed by Ms. Yuta earlier, you know, are not fully realized. Young people are not on the tables of decision making and not adequately represented in governance structures. Why do you think this is so? Why are we having this problem in Africa, Anita? Okay, so I don't think we have Anita yet. We will come back to her later. So I'm just going to turn to someone I have here in the studio, Bobby Wine. As an opposition leader and member, a former member of the parliament, what would you say are the political and economic barriers that prevent young Africans from formal political participation in your country and maybe even for the rest of Africa? And how have you been able to surmount them?
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. Greetings, viewers. I'll talk about Africa largely, but allow me to zoom in to Eastern Africa, and more particularly to Uganda, where I live. The challenges of Africa, Uganda in particular, is the generational divide, which is not only in age, but is also in mentality. And I'm very glad that you mentioned it, that we are stuck with 20th century mentality and leaders, and yet we are largely a 21st century population. We are stuck with leaders that have an old mentality and a mentality of authoritarianism. In Uganda, the problem, and I believe largely in Africa, is authoritarianism, where we have a leader that has been in power for 36 years. Unfortunately, even when the voices are raised, they are ignored or squashed with brutality. Now, this is a challenge. How we've been able to surmount them, I would not really be quick to say we've surmounted them. We've made the efforts, but the efforts have been crushed. And unfortunately, the development partners are not innocent to this. We really appreciate the attention that is put on Africa, but the attention and the statements alone do not cut the result. It is the action that we desire, and when that action, when that partnership is put in action, I strongly believe that Africa will be where it really deserves to be. I really believe that Africans, especially young Africans, will live to their full potential.
Thank you, Bobby Wine, for those very strong thoughts. The challenge of authoritarianism, and this is also, this goes hand in hand with a disappointment in governance from young people. I think it was a 2019 Mo Ibrahim Forum report that found that 60% of African, especially young people, think that their governments are doing a very bad job, or a fairly bad job, at addressing the needs of young people. I think in response to some of these authoritarianism trends in Africa, we've seen since 2010, a wave of peaceful protests across the continent. So my next question will go to Isa. It appears young Africans are speaking, especially you know, as Bobby Wine said earlier, but the governments are not listening. The leaders, the older generation are not listening to them. Why is the African youth voice not making a significant difference in governance? Why is it not being creating change despite the numbers that we have? Okay, we don't have Aisha, so I would ask you, Bobby, again to weigh in on this one.
Well, thank you very much. Africa has significantly suffered an attack on democracy and democratic principles. It has suffered an attack on human rights. It has suffered an attack on the rule of law. And like I said, while the authoritarian leaders in Africa are having their field day crushing democracy and crushing any alternative voices, particularly the young voices, it has not been made better by the development partners. I'm of the view that if the world listened and indeed acted to the values that bring us together as humanity, then Africa would live its full potential.
Thank you.